everybody. This is the Town of Hempstead Town Board public hearing on the assessment roll for the Greater Atlantic Beach Water Reclamation District for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022, as well as the preliminary budget for the Town of Hempstead for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Clayton.
Here.
Councilman Blakeman.
Here.
Councilman Greenie.
Here.
Councilman Diaz-Zito.
I'm here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Here. Councilman Muscarella.
I'm going to ask Senior Councilwoman Gooseby to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, as reminded from years past, today's public hearings begin at 2:30 and will be continued at 7 p.m. once everyone who wishes to speak in the afternoon finishes making their comments. Because the public hearings will be continued at 7 p.m., participants who speak at the 2:30 p.m. will not be able to speak again at 7 p.m. Every participant given one chance to speak for up to 3 minutes in accordance with the Town Board rules. Madam Clerk, please call the public hearing on the assessment roll for the Greater Atlantic Beach Water Reclamation District for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022.
We have the proposed assessment roll of the Greater Atlantic Beach Water Reclamation District for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022.
Okay, does anyone of the board wish to be heard on this matter? All right, I have any slips on this? Anybody in the public wish to be heard on this matter? If not, may I please have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, I move to continue this public hearing to 7 p.m. this evening.
Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Greenie.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Zito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Gooseby. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Madam Clerk, please call the next item.
We have the preliminary budget of the Town of Hempstead for fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022.
Okay, any member of the board wish to be heard on this? All right, I have a couple of slips in this. First, I'll start with Felix Bercacci. All speakers, please go to the back area where the podium is. We appreciate it, as always, if you give your name and address. Thank you.
Bercacci, Franklin Square.
Afternoon.
How much is the 2022 budget, total projected expenditures, and total projected revenue?
The projected expenditures are $500.3 million, and the revenues equal $100.3 million.
How much reserves are being used in the 2022 budget?
Approximately $20 million.
How much was the 2022 budget cut from 2021 levels?
Budget is an increase over the prior year. It's under the inflation rate. It's up approximately 4%.
4%. How much was the 2022 salary amount cut from 2021 levels?
Depends on which salaries you're
The
talking
total
about.
salaries of the entire town.
It depends on which particular salary you're talking about. There was certain groups that they were less than last year. There was a union contract that was signed prior to the completion of this budget. That's included in here. But the salaries go from 171.3 to 180.4.
That's total. When I summed it up, I got 5.37% increase, or $9 million increase town-wide when you look at everything. That's what the question. The question is everything, if you include all the departments, everything.
Right.
What the level I get, and I just want to compare it with what you get, I trust your numbers more, I got 9.15 million increase over 2021.
We have it at 9.1.
Okay. And I also, if you go by way of the 2019 actual salary, the actual number, which is provided in this budget, I got a 14.8% increase, or $23 million increase. Would you say that's correct?
I can't verify that. Where are you getting your numbers from?
Well, I totaled up the 2019 actuals from what you put in this year's 2022 budget. I summed them all up, and I compared it to what you're budgeting in 2022.
Right.
And I think the difference I get is 23 million, or a 14.8% difference.
That's over a 3-year period.
Yes. So you would say that's accurate?
19 to 19, 20, 21, 22, actually, it's a 4-year period.
That's right.
4 years.
Well,
There's a union contract, there's, of course.
but you agree with the number?
Unless I sit down and figure it out, I'll accept what you say.
Okay. How much federal CARES Act money is added to the town reserves?
But for this year, nothing.
Well, for both years, for 2020 and 2021.
As per town board resolution, it was 70 million.
70 million added to the reserves. How much federal CARES Act money remains unspent?
$54,000.
$54,000. Miscellaneous revenue is up $50 million in 2020. Was that due to federal CARES Act money?
There is no federal CARES Act money in this budget.
Okay, but no, I'm saying in 2020.
You're probably referencing...
You're referencing 2020 in this budget.
ERAP money, which is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. We have expenditures in the budget for that, and it is offset by revenue in the budget.
Yeah. What you classify in this budget for 2020 as miscellaneous, what is that? Is that the rental revenue?
Yeah, it's primarily a rental revenue, yes.
Has the audit for 2020 been completed yet?
No,
When will that be completed?
I can't tell you for sure. The auditors have had their issues with, with the issue of the virus. They weren't here until late in the period. I can't answer that. I don't work for them, and they don't tell me when they're going to be finished.
So I know that was the reason given last year, and North Hempstead, though, had their audit completed in July, ahead of the November 30th deadline. And one thing I find interesting is that rating agencies usually, from my experience, they usually wait till the audited numbers come out before they make a determination. This year, and I believe even last year, they preempted the audit. They gave a rating decision before seeing the audit.
John, were those two rating upgrades? Good job, John.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for
I
that. What they do is they take what your projections have been in the past. They take what you have submitted to the state controller with the annual update document.
Yeah.
And then they compare it to when the audit is completed. And if they find that you are accurate within a certain amount, they will continue to use your estimates. And that's exactly what has happened for the two upgrades that we just received. They looked at our projections, they looked at what we filed with the state controller, they compare it to the prior year's estimates and the prior year's audit, and they find that our numbers are great and they use them. And it's happened with both rating agencies.
Now, I understand that, but in the past years, usually they wait until after September 30th, after the audit was completed, before they made it.
We had a bond issue coming up, and we needed to get re-rated by both Moody's and Standard & Poor's. So
I noticed there was a difference between your April numbers from federal numbers, it was 57 million, and then in the budget you put $50 million for federal expenditures, revenue. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeCouchy. Appreciate the recognizing those bond upgrades. Good work, John. Next slip I have here is Bonnie Durham. Good afternoon. If your name and address for the record, thank you.
Bonnie Durham, Rockville Center. I think this preliminary budget perfectly epitomizes the way this town is run. It tells a story to the public up front in the introduction to make it sound like you're doing a terrific job. It's set up to provide jobs for your cronies, no matter how much it costs the residents. It does all you can possibly do to hide what you're doing from the public. And I'll give you examples of each of those. In your introduction, you say that the town of Hempstead provides the lion's share of local services, excepting public education and police protection. Well, that's not true. I mean, you provide a lot of parks and recreation, although some parts of the town are more favored with those things than others. You pick up some garbage, you supply some water, although you haven't really helped the residents that are trying to get out from under their exorbitantly expensive private water. You're responsible for the roads, which most residents will tell you are in horrendous shape. You've got the building department, which is pretty much the same thing, and the animal shelter, which is the subject of complaints and horror stories for years. So, as far as making sure you can provide jobs to your cronies, you have a civil service commission with personnel costs over $1 million, when you could simply utilize the Nassau County Civil Service Commission and eliminate those costs completely, but you don't, and I wonder why. You have your, in terms of hiding things in this budget, just one example is you have all of your public relations staff hidden in general services on page 82. Not specifically identified as such, but there they are. And as far as appropriations, in the 2021 budget, you had other, category of other, of $500,000. In this preliminary budget, you have other unspecified appropriations of $27,350,554. That's $27 million of other, and you don't tell the residents what those are. So, you know, we all know that most residents don't have the time to go through and analyze or even read a 207-page preliminary budget. You know that, and that's why you put it together this way. So if there's a Newsday reporter listening, you never write about the town. But this is a public service. You need to tell people what's hidden in this budget, because most people are not going to know, and you should be ashamed of yourselves.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carroll. It was a pleasure. I don't have any other slips here. Is there anybody else here in the audience who wishes to be heard right now? Oh, and if somebody left their pocketbook, I was just notified it is out by the front desk, so if you came in and left it, please go to the front desk public safety officer. If not, may I please have a motion to continue this public hearing to at 7 p.m. this evening? Supervisor. Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Aye. Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Mosquera.
Aye.
May I have a motion to adjourn till 7 p.m. this evening? Second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye. It will be adjourned at 7 p.m.
It's to continue. The first was to close the hearing on the budget, and then the second is
Once
to...
to continue, we'll
Okay. All right, thank you all. See you tonight, 7 p.m. Good evening, everybody. This is a continuation of the town of Hempstead's public hearings on the assessment roll for the Greater Atlantic Beach Reclamation District and the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022, and the preliminary budget of the town of Hempstead for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022, which began earlier today at 2:30. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Clayton.
Here.
Councilman Blakeman.
Here.
Councilman Creedy.
Here.
Councilman Diaz-Padrón.
Here.
Councilman Dunn.
Here.
Senior Councilwoman Boothby. Councilman Mosquera.
Yeah. Okay, earlier today we had the Pledge of Allegiance, so today's public hearing began at 2:30 and we are continued to 7 p.m. this evening. As I stated this afternoon, because the public hearings were continued to 7 p.m., participants who spoke at 2:30 will not be able to speak again at 7 p.m. Every participant will be given one chance to speak up to 3 minutes in accordance with the town board rules. Madam Clerk, please call the first public hearing.
We have a proposed assessment roll of the Greater Atlantic Beach Water Reclamation District for the fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022.
Okay, any member of the board want to be heard on this?
I would just like to recognize that the district's counsel, Nick DeCipio, is here, present, in the event there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. DeCipio, for being here. I do not have any slips. Any member of the public here wish to be heard on this item? Okay. If not, may I please... Oh, yep, okay. If you give me an address for the record?
taxpayer. I need a point of clarification first, just to be clear. You said you can only speak as to what, one issue, one hearing, or one time? I need to be clear.
We said earlier today, it's been consistent with the number of years that you can speak once for the, if you spoke this afternoon, this is a continuation, you were heard and you have your chance to speak this afternoon, but you can speak tonight.
Okay, but if I speak on this issue, can I speak on other issues?
No, tonight's only a budget hearing, that's all we're talking about here are the budget hearings.
I understand it's about the budget hearing, but this is specifically about Atlantic Beach, and it's a water issue, and my concern has to do with the water bill that is sitting at the governor's office, and the town of Hempstead has failed to support this bill that would help ratepayers in this township.
Okay, this is a special district with their budget, if you're speaking about that. If not, at the next town board meeting, you can always address this as you always do.
Yes,
Thank you, Councilman Wakeman,
Yes,
for giving the taxpayer the courtesy that they deserve for taking the time to come out to these meetings.
Yeah.
And also looking me in the eye. I appreciate that because we don't seem to get that from other people who get elected to sit behind that counter. Thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to explain to you that this is a special district and we are, in the town of Hempstead, just approving their assessment roll. That's all this matter is about, is their assessment roll and approving it
Okay.
for a special district.
Okay.
Okay.
That's why I needed clarification. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else that wish to be heard on this item? If not, may I please have a motion?
I move that the public hearing be closed and the assessment roll be adopted.
Second the motion to adopt.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Creedy.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrino.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Boozby. Councilman Muscarella.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call the next public hearing?
We have the preliminary budget for the town of Hempstead for fiscal year commencing January 1st, 2022.
Okay, I have a couple of slips on this that'd like to be heard. First, we'll start with Stuart Kroll. Good evening, Mr. Kroll. If you give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Bruce Kroll, Great Neck. I just have a couple of questions and comments regarding the animal shelter budget. The first item that caught my attention was the budgeted amount of $100,000 for legal expenses at the shelter. That strikes me as an unusually large legal expense for a shelter. I mean, we did have somebody, obviously, who's not qualified, didn't have the proper credentials, and a dog with an aggressive history ended up, maiming somebody, basically causing severe damage. But I'd like to know why this budget is so high, and that if people that are working there are negligent, are people covered no matter what they do, or if they're negligent and don't have the right qualifications, shouldn't that be their expense rather than the town's expense? So if anybody cares to answer that, feel free to. Okay, I guess not.
Yes, may I respond to you?
Sure.
Okay. We don't create the lawsuits. We are responding to the lawsuits that are served on the town of Hempstead. And that is an expensive proposition. There's legal fees, there's court fees, and that's what that is. It's an estimate based upon prior year's experience and the number of lawsuits that are generated. We don't generate the lawsuits. We have to defend ourselves.
Right, you don't generate the lawsuits, but my question is, if somebody is put in a position of authority and working with animals where people are involved, and their negligence or lack of the proper credentials causes a problem, causes a lawsuit, should the town be responsible? Should they personally be responsible?
That's your judgment. It's not anything that we can do. If we're served, we have to respond.
Okay, so no matter what they do, the town is responsible, I understand. Okay, there was an expenditure also of $10,000 for advertising and promotion, which I hope, of course, is not spent all in one place. Social media promotion of the animals seems to be minimal. How can we... Social media promotion of the animals seems to be minimal. How can we find good homes for the many deserving dogs and cats with so little money for promotion? The shelter has recently dealt with and is still dealing with a large-scale hoarding situation. What is to happen to these cats? Are they to be sent to, again, to Good Shepherd Sanctuary with money that wasn't intended for such a purpose? There's also a line item of $27,000 for placement of animals. I'd like to know what that money actually means, placement of animals. What are they actually doing to promote these animals? So if anybody cares to respond to that, that would be nice. Every possible effort should be made to socialize any animal that needs it, and then utilize every means available to find them a good home. We have been told that the shelter is short-staffed. How is that possible with a payroll of over $4 million, which is budgeted for the next fiscal year? Perhaps someone would care to tell me how many full-time employees work there, as well as the number of part-time employees. Is that information readily available, or?
It's in the budget.
Okay. These employees obviously are very well compensated. Part of the problem is that any department would have to have employees working there, hopefully be very devoted to working with them, rather than just civil service employees who by happenstance end up working at the shelter. No doubt many of them do care deeply, but when you have those in charge who are the least qualified and lie about their credentials, it obscures the real purpose of working with animals. Perhaps someone can also tell me how medical costs went down $15,000 from $140,000 to $125,000. The shelter has been dealing with numerous cat boarding situations. How is it therefore possible that there's less medical supplies needed than there previously were?
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. We appreciate you always visiting Town of Hempstead. Next, I have a Diane Madden. Could you give your name and address to the record, please?
Diane Madden. How much of the Federal CARES Act money, the COVID relief funds, were used to balance your 2021 budget?
Nothing.
How much of the federal COVID relief funds were used to balance your 2022 budget?
Nothing. Zero.
So you can't identify in this budget any COVID money whatsoever?
There is money in this budget for emergency rental assistance. There's a budgeted estimate as to what we anticipate will be spent in 2022, and it is offset by the grant from the Treasury for that purpose. That is the only thing that's in here.
Why is that money still in there? I mean, there was a protest the other day. Why is that money still there and not given to the vendors?
Go through a process. The money has, most of it, I would say 80–90% of it has been obligated or paid out at this point in time. And it's a 3-year program.
So where is all of the COVID money? How can you identify that? Is it commingled?
Every single drawdown of the COVID funding, as we have said many, many times, was done via a town board resolution. No. Follow a town board resolution.
I didn't ask that. I'm asking where is the money? If it's, you're saying it's not in this budget, I think by your own admission today you said $70 million was in this budget.
I did not say that.
Okay, so where is the COVID money if it's not in this budget?
Going down in the prior year, and it's in our rainy day fund.
And how much is left?
Of the $70 million?
Right.
We have 2 years where we utilized $20 million, approximately 30.
Where did it go?
I just said it's in our fund balance. It's in our rainy day fund.
So isn't the rainy day fund a part of the budget?
The rainy day fund is not part of the budget.
So you have the COVID money, so I understand this and everyone understands this, in a totally separate, isolated account.
Money was drawn down via a tax.
It's just yes or no. Is it in a separate account?
Ms. Madden, please be respectful, Ms.
I am being respectful. He's dancing around every question I've asked.
He's thoughtfully answering all the questions. And we
No, I disagree.
Okay.
The answer is yes or no.
No, you don't set the guidelines on the answer. Mr. Mascherino can explain it, and which he did.
Money was in a segregated account, and according to our system that we set up, was drawn from that account, put into our general fund when the town board passed the resolution. So it's in our general fund.
And exactly how much is left?
Do you have any questions regarding this budget?
That is part of this budget.
It is.
Approximately 30 million of the 70.
Here's my proposal, that you table this budget until everyone can identify where this money is. I don't understand how you could pass a budget like this with a clear conscience when I can't get a really straight answer as to where the COVID funds are and why you even still have COVID funds left. What happens if the federal government claws back this money?
It gets returned to the Treasury.
Excuse me?
It gets returned to the Treasury.
Not if you spent it on salaries and promotions and raises. I think we'd have a tax increase in that case.
No, the process we went through was carefully vetted. It complied with every single FAQ that was issued by the Federal Treasury.
And if that were true, Supervisor Clavin would be at every single debate that's out there now against Jason Abeloff. So something is not adding up, and again, I ask you to table this resolution until everyone can understand where the money is, and in fact, if you are using the money to shore up a budget balance. The other appropriation of $27 million, could you identify what that money is?
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Madden. We appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah, I would think so. Try to show it up.
I'm going to now call Jonathan Provost. Good evening. Could you just give your name and address to the record, please?
Sure. My name is Jonathan, and I'm with the Baldwin Oak Civic Association. I just have a question in regards to the parks budget for the updated Covenant Park. If that line item is in the budget, I was reviewing it here to see if the $30,000 allocated to Covenant Park is collected in this budget. Oh, so
Town of Hempstead Park? Coesneck?
Coesneck Park, sir, is the town of Hempstead
Park
Park.
was part of the Town of Hempstead Park system.
Okay, so for the renovations that are taking place, have meetings been conducted with the community to see what they would like for these renovations, or is it just do a blanket job?
We'd have to defer, I don't know.
If so, would a meeting be possible with the Baldwin Oak Civic Association and Supervisor Clavin and Senior Councilman Gooseby to discuss the...
Have you did that, Jonathan?
Yeah, Kyle Began, Parks. I know we have 2 capital projects coming up in the calendar year, but as far as improvements within the operating budget, I don't believe that's
So, all right, I'm going to talk to you on the side.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom Board. Appreciate you.
No, no problem. You want to stick around, and he'll talk to you at the back of the room too if you want to follow up, okay? Okay. All right.
Oh, also, for the COVID fund, thank you, Muted. For the bathroom at the Coesneck Park location, is it possible to have COVID funds allocated for touch and spells because the the restrooms are in desperate need of repair?
I'll take that into you'll talk to him to follow up on that? Thank you very much.
Also, my last minute and 58 seconds. I just want to point out that there are several lights at Coesneck Park that need to be repaired because we have children practicing in the dark, and this is a very concerning issue as a taxpayer.
Okay, great. Like I said, Mr. Meekin's going to go in the back, we'll take it down, we'll follow up. Absolutely. Thanks for bringing it to attention. Appreciate it. Next, I have Laura Wiggins. Good evening. Just give your name and address to the record, please.
Laura L. Wiggins, Uniondale, New York. I wish to ask the town in reference to Uniondale Public Library to review the submitted budget for 2022 for this reason. The community cannot ask questions of the board. There are 5 members of the board. which compiles and submits the budget to you for approval. There is, for example, account 1010, salaries. Everyone is grouped. Administration, clerks, everyone, to the tune of almost $2 million. Now, Uniondale has been without a director for a number of years. Our director is new. Our assistant director is quite new. We do not know who's getting what, but we do know that financial positions have been created. We know that people have been promoted, and of course salaries increased. Yet, they sit on $4 million in a structure that cannot accommodate or serve the community. And they've been doing this for a few years. The question is, this budget with COVID affecting us as it has, $4 million, I think is a little high, too high, because they have done nothing in the past 3 years, let alone 10 years. Suggestions have been made in regards to where they may possibly purchase land to build a structure, and they have failed to follow through on any suggestions. For that reason, and others, I'm asking you to review this budget, because the 5 persons who formulated this budget, and I'm not going to publicly name names, they're incumbent, especially one who is the president at the time. He cannot conduct a meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wiggins. John, you'll take that under advisement when you receive the budget?
We have, as part of the process, we interview every special district, every library district that's within the town, that's now addendum to the budget. The law says we have to publish their budget. But the budget is generated by the individual members of their legislative body, hopefully with a hearing that they had. Our responsibility is to look at the expenses and to ask the questions and see if they appear to be proper. We have done that with this library.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wiggins.
I have a question.
You're at the 3-minute mark, but if you stick right after, we're always happy to talk to you. Okay? Thank you, Ms. Wiggins. Next, I have Ms. Meredith. Good evening, name and address of the record, please.
Dear Meredith taxpayers, I'm hoping that when I ask a question that the time is stopped and it allows for whoever that is paid to do this work, since I didn't have the time to actually go through all of this today, because some of us are kind of out here trying to actually save lives or to keep people employed to pay these high taxes. I had a question because the only thing I could see really related to any veteran-type services was veteran meeting rooms for $1,500. Is there any change or increase or, epiphany with regard to increasing veteran-related services and outreach in this upcoming budget? Please stop the clock, because I'm looking at 222.
That $1,500 is actually set by state law.
I'm glad we follow the state and federal regulations for something, but I'm looking for what else is in this budget that is going to address the needs of our over 40,000 veterans. Again, please stop the clock so that they can look for the answers to the questions.
Ms. Meredith, she's doing a great job with the clock, so please.
I didn't name anybody's name. I'm just making sure
she's doing a good job.
The time is up. Yeah, everybody's doing a great job. They should be. And again, the clock is ticking, and I have not gotten an answer to the question.
We do have a member of the veterans group that is on the town as an expense, and if there's anything that is of a particular need for any veteran organization or needs of anything, that will be addressed during the year.
It is not addressed during the year, sir. I'm here during the year. I'm out on the streets addressing needs of veterans that are not being addressed by my tax dollars. So I'm asking the answer to the question is more of the same. That's the answer to the question.
No, it's not, Ms. Meredith. Ms. Meredith, it's not.
Actually,
We actually use our Department of Doors, which is run by Mr. Millett, that actually works with the veterans groups on a regular basis. In addition to that, we have a great team here in the veterans that now has a beautiful office on the second floor where they're dealing with the vets when they come on a regular basis. They do a tremendous job. We're very proud of them. But we use a lot of the funds also from that come in through door to assist in vets programs.
and again, where is the report for that could be possibly put out instead of all of the, inundation of campaign material that's just really irrelevant because you're going to only get elected at this stage in the game. It really doesn't matter which party gets elected because it's really the taxpayers that continue to get screwed. So I know you want to do this campaign promise, everybody's great, everybody's doing a wonderful job, and in most cases they are. But you still have not answered the question with regard to an actual increase in the resources. That means bringing on additional great bodies to do the work to meet the increasing needs of our veterans, particularly following the pandemic. That's my question. The other question is, since there are state regulations as it pertains to the participation of minority women in veteran businesses, guess what? Veteran businesses generally hire veterans. But if we're not bringing in or procuring contracts with veteran-owned businesses, we can't provide those jobs. So again, where's the funding to address the growing disparity with regard to veteran business development, minority business development, and women business development? Please stop the clock. I've got 48 seconds. And I'm owed 10 seconds by the great person on the time clock, because everybody's doing a great job. But go ahead.
There have been bids put out. They do all indicate veterans, minorities, women, and I do believe there have been contracts that have been vetted. Have been
Not vetted, paid. I'm not talking about somebody spread.
Let me finish my sentence.
Okay.
Please.
I'm okay.
There have been contracts.
I only got 47 seconds, so go ahead. I'll listen.
There have been contracts that have been let out to veteran-owned businesses. We have done that. We do advertise for it, and we do encourage it. And we have issued contracts to veterans.
Who?
Actually, I think it was last year with PP, we had $2 million in contracts. The company that won was a veteran-owned business. We teamed up with Nassau County and we gave $2 million.
Okay, one. Who else?
Minority
veterans. This is 2021, supervisor. So you got one. That's all you got from me, right? Okay. Gee. Okay. I saw that youth services are getting very little money. I mean, again, road work. What about that? Grand Avenue. You got all these relationships between the town and the county, but the roads and the underserved, or I guess the lesser known or lesser patronaged communities are still getting shafted. And as someone mentioned earlier, I witnessed the young people from Uniondale who were practicing in the dark. It's well lit in the plaza out here, that I'm going to call Plaza X. It's well lit out there, but these young people had to practice in the dark and use unsafe bathrooms in the township of Hempstead. Is that acceptable? Is that doing a great job, Supervisor? Thank you. If anybody wants to actually give me some details where my money is going.
And I do want to let you know that Grand Avenue is a county-owned road. I don't have any other slips of people who wanted to speak here today. Is anybody else in the audience like to be heard that hasn't spoken already? Okay. If not, may I please have a motion?
Supervisor, I move to adopt the preliminary budget as the annual budget of the town of Hempstead for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2022.
I proudly second.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman.
Aye.
Councilman Carini.
Aye.
Councilman Diaz-Padrino.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn.
Aye.
Senior Councilwoman Guzman. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Supervisor, I make a motion we adjourn. Before we do, if I may say thank you to John and the entire team of the Controller's Office. You've done a great job with the tax cut budget. You got 2 bond upgrades by everybody working together. You work tirelessly, you do a good job, and I think everybody owes you and your team a big thank you. So welcome to the entire department. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Clayton.
Aye.
Councilman Blakeman. Councilman Green. Councilman Esposito.
Aye.
Councilman Dunn. Senior Councilwoman Guzman. Councilman Muscarella.
Aye. Okay, thank you all and a safe ride home. God bless.